Hey everybody, today I'm taking a look at Faraway, which is a 2 to 6 player card game that takes around 25 minutes to play. Now before I share my thoughts on Faraway, I want to give a shout out to the show's sponsor, KIENDA.co.uk, who are my go-to online retailer, and if you use the link in the show notes or the QR code, then you can get 5% off your first order. Okay, so let's take a look at the setup and components for Faraway. So you're going to have a score pad, which of course is going to monitor your scoring at the end of the game. You've got two different decks of cards. You've got these bonus cards and you have the main deck of cards here. You're going to set up a pool of cards equal to the number of players plus one. So in this example, it would be a 2-player game. Therefore, we'd put 3 cards out there. At the start of the game, each player will get given 3 cards in their hand, which they can play into their little row of cards. So essentially, throughout the game, you are going to be playing 8 cards in a row from left to right. And then at the end of the game, once you've played your 8 cards, you're going to score those cards from right to left. Now the card anatomy is pretty simple, where in the top left hand corner you have this numerical value, which is important when it comes to drawing these bonus cards later. You have these bonus symbols here, which will act as prerequisites for other cards. You can see in this example, I would need to have a rock, and one of these symbols on display after this card's played in order to score 10 points. You've also got the actual scoring criteria here, which can be straight up points. It can be points based on other symbols, different colours of cards, etc. There's also 2 different types of cards. You've got like the daytime cards and the nighttime cards, which again can synergize with different scoring options. So the round structure for this game is actually very simple, where all you'll do is you'll simply play a card and you'll draw a new card. But let's fast forward the game 1 round. So let's say I've already played this number 3 card here, which is a simple 4 points at the end of the game. Doesn't require any prerequisites whatsoever. But next round, let's say I wanted to play this number 46 card like this. Because this number is higher than the previous number, I will get access to some bonus cards. So you're always going to get 1, but you're also going to get another 1 depending on how many map symbols you have. So in this example, I'll get to draw 2 bonus cards because 1 as a default plus 1 for every map I have. So I'll draw 2 of these bonus cards, which will give me another option to play one of those at the end of the round. So you can see these do lots of different things, such as giving you different colours, giving you points based on the different colours you have, extra map symbols, extra symbols, different scoring criteria, etc. But again, you can only ever choose to play one of those, no matter how many you unlock per se by using those maps. And then, once everybody's simultaneously chosen their cards, depending on who's played the lowest card value, let's just say I was the lowest and my opponent played a higher one, I will gain access to those cards in the pool quicker. So again, the lower number means you get to draft first. So let's just say I wanted to take this one here. Although it's not a scoring card, it's going to give me a nice couple of prerequisites. And it's worth noting that these do vary in their kind of commonality in the deck. So I think the stones are fairly common. These little kind of horn symbols are a little bit rarer, and the pineapples are rarer again. So you've got to be quite careful about pacing yourself. Of course, your opponent will then get the second draft, and the remaining one will get discarded. You'll then draw the next 3 cards to go into the pool. Of course, you've already replenished your hand to 3 cards again, and then you'll go again, simultaneously choosing a card and trying to aim towards those prerequisites. So let's play through one more round. Let's say I wanted to play this card here. We all can reveal at the same time. I'll play it in order. Again, because I'm higher than the previous card, and I've got an extra map symbol, I'll draw 2 bonus cards, which I'll get to play one of them. Let's just say I'll play that one there. And then again, let's say I played a lower card than my opponent, therefore I'd get a first draft again, replenish my hand, and then go again for the next round. So you can see it's pretty rapid, but what I'll do is I'll fast forward the game until I've got my 8 cards played, and then I'll showcase how the scoring works. Okay, so I fast forwarded the game here and have my 8 cards played along with the bonus cards that I have selected. So once all players have played through the 8 rounds, you are going to flip all of the cards over except for the last one. So let's just do that right now, like so. And then, starting from that last card, in this example, this level 61 card here, I'm going to see if that card is going to score. So again, you are only scoring based on cards after it in that row or the actual bonus cards themselves. So in this example, I would not score this card because I do not have 4 of these horn symbols on display. In fact, I have none of them at all. So therefore, this card would not score anything. Hence why you'd use the sheet here to monitor all your scoring, of course. So let's go on to the next one. This one says, if I have all 4 of the different coloured cards, I would get 10 points. So I have a yellow one, I have one of these green ones, and using my bonus cards, I can do the other 2 colours as well. Therefore, this card would score me 10 points. And again, I would monitor that on my scoring pad. The next one says, for every horn symbol I have, I'll get 2 points. That's going to be 4 points for that card. This one's going to come along now. Again, it's going to get me 3 points for every horn symbol I have. So that's another 6 points there by the 2 on display. The next one comes along. This one is simply adding different scoring criteria or prerequisites for me, and it's not going to score for itself. So let's move swiftly on. This one says for every one of these green cards, I'll score 4 points. So that one's not going to do me too well. I think I've only got one of those. That's going to be a pretty meager 4 points. But I would have had to have 2 pineapples on show. And fortunately, I do. I have one here and I have one here. So although I didn't get too many points, it's still going to be eligible for scoring. The next one says if I have 2 rocks and a horn symbol on display, I'll get 10 points. That's 1 rock. There's another rock on my bonus card here. I've got a bonus one here as well. And I've got at least 1 horn symbol. Therefore, this is going to give me 10 points. And the final one is just going to be a straight up 4 victory points. Of course, you may also have some of these bonus cards that will grant you points as well. So this one says I'm going to get a point for every nighttime card that I have. And I have a couple of those in the mix. And this one says for every rock symbol I have, I'm going to get 2 points as well. And after everybody has calculated all of their points, the player with the most points will be the winner. Okay, so let's share some thoughts on Faraway. And mechanically, I think this game is excellent. It's such a clean design, and although it doesn't necessarily do anything amazingly new or innovative, it's the way it's executed is done really interestingly, and it just adds a little twist on a pretty proven method of game. Like for example, you're playing your more ambitious cards early in order to aim towards the prerequisites after that. And because you are quickly running out of time, sometimes you're biting off more than you can chew, and you put yourself under pressure to pull off those bigger goals. So do you want to kind of start with the higher numbers, those more ambitious goals, and work towards the lower ones? But at the same time, you are conflicted because playing cards in numerical order is so important, because you get access to these beautiful bonus cards that can be absolute lifesavers in this game, meaning you might want to collect more maps to give you more options and so on. And on top of that, because you have such a tight little hand of cards, playing the lower cards is important because you get first access to the cards that would be in that pool. And of course, if you are playing those higher numbers and you are playing especially lower player count games, you are going to be completely left with the dregs, what's available there that might not suit your game plan at all. I do enjoy the diversity of the scoring options in this game and the number of things you need to consider when you play any card. And a lot of the time, because again you are at the mercy of the cards you'll draw into your hand, you'll have to play a somewhat suboptimal card that isn't going to necessarily score itself, but it may act as a prerequisite for another card. So although it is possible to score every card in this game, it's probably not going to happen because you are at the mercy of your cards, and playing more ambitious cards later is pretty much a recipe for disaster, and it's probably not going to work for you. And that leads on to my next thoughts about this game, and that is the strong luck factor. Don't get me wrong, it's not a big issue with the game because it is a quick little filler one, but you have to be prepared that sometimes this game is going to, everything's going to fit in place and slot in place and score for you, but sometimes the cards are just not going to work in your favour, and you can even leave the game with very few points because there just aren't that many cards triggering and scoring for you. A lot of the time, you could try and overcome or mitigate that risk and that luck factor by collecting more map cards, giving you more access to the more specific bonus cards that you require. But even then, especially because of the the way that the different symbols are spread throughout that deck. You can be headhunting a certain symbol and it just will not come up no matter how hard you try. So be prepared that sometimes you're going to have games of this that will work like clockwork, and sometimes everything is going to fall flat and it's going to be a bit of a dud game. But as I said, because it is pretty quick anyway, it doesn't really leave a salty feeling in your in your mouth. So it's not actually that hard to swallow. But all in all, you've got to be prepared to roll with the punches here. Sometimes it's going to work, sometimes it's not. I think the player engagement with this game is pretty excellent. It's a very punchy game. It's quick. The rounds go by pretty rapidly, and you're only playing 8 cards in total, making each card play very important. The game length is spot on. You're looking at 20-25 minutes to play this one, and you've got a good amount of decisions in that time frame to sink your teeth into and get invested in your little tableau. So yeah, all in all, I think the general player investment is very good. The interaction of this game mainly comes through the shared pool of cards. Are you willing to play a lower card and somewhat maybe suboptimal card in your scoring tableau to secure the exact card you want into your hand going forward? So that's something to consider there. I do find that in lower player count games, you can kind of look over your shoulder, see what your opponents are aiming towards, and you can even engage in a bit of hate drafting. Obviously, in higher player count games, that's going to be a bit more difficult, but there are little wrinkles of interaction there. Perhaps there could have been different scoring, saying if you have the most of this colour, then you'd score X amount of points, whatever. But that's something they could definitely introduce in the future. But all in all, the interaction is fairly low, but it is there. That being said, the game does scale very well, from 2 to 6 players, and it does work at all of those player counts. Even with the higher player counts, you are going to go through your turns pretty quickly, and you're not going to sit there doing nothing for ages, because again, each turn does resolve so rapidly. Personally, I like this at say 3 or 4 players, because you've got an extra card or 2 in the pool that you can go for. But still, no issue at any player count at all. So let's briefly talk about the production. The card quality itself is fine. It's not amazing quality, but you're not, shuffling these cards a lot and anything like that. Artwork of these cards is absolutely stellar. A real unique style. It really does pop on those cards, and it looks fantastic when it's on the table. Every card, I believe, is unique and has unique art on it. So yeah, really fantastic aesthetic with that kind of Studio Ghibli, Japanese style. So yeah, big fan of this art style, and it looks fantastic. Okay, so let's share some final thoughts on Faraway. So if I was judging this game purely from a mechanical standpoint, I would say this is easily an 8 out of 10. It's so smooth, it's so quick, everything resolves wonderfully smoothly, and there's still tons of decisions within a very quick and punchy framework. The game looks wonderful on the table. It does have a real kind of unique presence, and I like everything about it in that respect. And I even like it decision-wise in terms of building towards your future goals, starting off ambitiously, hopefully trying to fulfill those objectives as you go, but also make those cards score as they go as well. That in conflict with the bonus cards, the numerical value in terms of drafting your next card, all comes together in a very cohesive and wonderfully designed game. Now, my only issue with this is that sometimes, and it is quite frequent, you will have complete duds of games that will just not work for you. Everything will fall flat, and it will just kind of fall like a house of cards. So you do have to be prepared that sometimes the game is going to be a great one, sometimes it's going to be a bit of a flop. And that can leave players feeling a little bit negative on this one at times. When you spend 20 minutes building up your tableau, and then you go through each card saying, oh, this card doesn't score, this card doesn't score, this card doesn't score, this card doesn't score. Yes, you can put that down to bad play, but sometimes there are things out of your control that you just need to accept at times. Yes, there are mitigation tools there through the maps, drafting giving more options when it comes to the bonus cards to get exactly what you want. But even with that, at times you cannot pull off what you want to, even though you left yourself plenty of slack in order to, where you should have been able to achieve those goals. But maybe I'm being hyper critical there, because this is still a 20-25 minute game. It's very light on the rules, so I'm going to give it a bit of grace for that reason. So I think I'm going to knock it down slightly and give this one a 7 out of 10. So that's still going to be a recommendation, because again, I do like it a lot. Again, mechanically, I cannot really fault it at all, to be honest. But you've got to be prepared that sometimes it's going to be a fantastic game, sometimes it's just not going to work. But all in all, it's a lovely design. I'm definitely going to stay in my collection, that's for sure. That is Faraway. I recommend it, but again, be prepared that it's not easy, and sometimes you're going to be getting kind of a blood out of a stone when it comes to getting victory points.